As the WWE returns continue with the likes of Bray Wyatt, Karrion Kross, Dakota Kai, and others returning to the company, could Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green be the next two former WWE stars to be re-signed by Triple H? Plus, the new director of long-term creative, does he already have major heat within WWE? We've got the NXT ratings for this week, with the most people tuning in for close to a year to the developmental program. Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns, who's heading that up? Plus, what is the future of WWE video games? Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE, so let's continue by starting off talking about Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. More returns to WWE, more re-signings, more people that used to work for the company that were let go being brought back under the Triple H regime. It definitely could happen because Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green are the latest two to be linked to a WWE return. Now, speculation has run rampant about the future of former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Matt Cardona, as many believe he could be WWE bound. A former Intercontinental Champion, who was known as Zack Ryder during his time in WWE, has done very well for himself since being released by the company in 2020. With former WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon out of the picture, some feel the timing is perfect for Cardona to make his return. After all, he did tee things on Twitter by saying a rematch with SmackDown superstar Drew McIntyre would be a lot of fun. Now, this also comes on the back of rumors linking Chelsea Green back to WWE. We'll talk about those separately in a second. So, with Cardona fueling speculation with WWE's interest in his wife, could Cardona be about to return to the company? Well, Cardona has done what he does very well, and that stir things up on social media. If you go onto his Twitter page, there are numerous pictures of him. He is posting pictures of him when he used to be Zack Ryder. He's posted pictures of himself when he was the Long Island IC, when he was an Edgehead, when he'd won the Raw Tag Team Championship with Brian Myers. Like, there have been several pictures, and he's fueling speculation. Now, with the rumor mill at a fever pitch, Cardona addressed the possibility of stepping back inside a WWE ring during an interview with the Metro. He said, quote, "I'm not trying to get back to WWE," Cardona said, "but I'd be lying if I said I never wanted to have a WrestleMania moment again, or I never wanted to wrestle at Madison Square Garden. Of course I would. If Triple H called me right now, if I heard that 203, that's the area code for Stamford, Connecticut, of course I'd pick up. But right now I'm focusing on being the best me possible and having the most fun possible and making the most money possible." Now, Cardona, of course, has had huge success outside of WWE on the independent scene, especially within the last 12 months or so of GCW World Heavyweight Championship reign and NWA World Heavyweight Championship reign. But he admitted there's one championship that hasn't left his mind. He said, quote, "Right now, I'm trying to prove that you don't necessarily need to be in WWE or AEW to be a successful pro wrestler," Cardona said. "But of course, the WWE Championship is something I think about every single day when I wake up. That is definitely always on my mind. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't." Now, again, he has since released a statement, which Wrestling Inc. are running with as an exclusive, because he has released a statement clearing the air and revealing that while he is open to a return, the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion has a lot going on right now. He said, quote, "Being the star of the Last Match musical, host of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, and 13th best wrestler in the world keeps me very busy," Cardona said. "However, I'm always ready for any opportunity." Now, when it comes to, obviously, his wife, Chelsea Green, she is also a free agent. Her run with Impact Wrestling has finished up. I don't even think she was officially ever under contract to Impact Wrestling, as is the case with a lot of Impact Wrestling talent. And according to WrestleVotes, WWE reportedly has, quote, "significant interest in bringing her back into the mix." This is what WrestleVotes had to say on Twitter, saying, quote, "I'm told another name WWE has significant interest in bringing back is Chelsea Green. I would think if a deal is offered, it's for the main roster. Time will tell," end quote. Now, Green herself was released by WWE in 2021, but her run was greatly hampered by injury. She only made a handful of appearances on the main roster. She broke her wrist twice, once while in NXT and a second time in the first match of her main roster call-up. Now, Green mentioned after her release in April of 2021 on Busted Open Radio that she didn't see it coming and that her arm injury wasn't really something that should have caused her release back then. Now, of course, since then, as I mentioned, she's had success on the independent scene in addition to her husband. She established herself as a presence in Impact Wrestling. As a face alongside Mickie James, she later turned heel to align with her husband, Matt Cardona. Most recently, she was paired with Deonna Purrazzo. They became Impact Knockout Tag Team Champions as a VXT. But at Bound for Glory, they were defeated by Jessica and Taya Valkyrie, aka the Death Dolls, for the titles. And Green recently told GAW-TV that she had to get surgery on her nose, saying, quote, "I got my septum put back in place." In addition to working with Impact, she's worked with other notable promotions such as Ring of Honor, the NWA. She's made appearances with Cardona at GCW as well. So she has also remained very busy too. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if we saw Chelsea Green back in WWE. I think that WrestleVotes on Twitter is a very reputable account, and they do tend to get things right. And I think that there is certainly, with both of them, but certainly with Chelsea Green, there's a lot of unfinished business there. She never really got a chance. I mean, as I mentioned, she broke her wrist in NXT, and then she was technically on. Her story is so strange because she was technically on the main roster for a really long period of time, but she never made appearances. She was injured, and then when she did make her debut on SmackDown, she broke her wrist about 30 seconds into the match, and they never shot her again. She just disappeared, and then she got released. And I know she got a lot of heat for some of the interviews she did post WWE, where essentially you find out that she just pitched herself to get involved in other people's storylines. So it was like, with Seth Rollins when he was the Monday Night Messiah, why don't I be I think she described it as a sexy nun. Why don't I be a sexy nun? Why don't I be Dominic Mysterio's girlfriend? Or why don't I be Bray Wyatt's sister Abigail? And it's kind of the general consensus was on social media, why don't you come up with your own gimmick? Which I think is a fair criticism there. But she's done that on the independent scene when working with her husband, Matt Cardona. And clearly, Triple H is not only trying to bring a lot of people back and flood that WWE roster, but he's also heavily investing in the women's division. The women's division on SmackDown, prior to Triple H seizing power in WWE, was so weak and had no depth to it whatsoever. And Chelsea Green, if she comes back to WWE, is she going to be someone that's a headliner in WWE? No. You never know what could happen, though. And Triple H, clearly, as I mentioned, I've said this before, I think this policy, this vision that Triple H has of re-signing all these people, calling up these people from NXT, is to flood out that roster, make the roster bigger. And I think coming out of WrestleMania, and this isn't a scoop, this isn't, I've spoken to Triple H or anything like that. My feeling is coming out of WrestleMania next year, Triple H is going to do a draft. He's going to do a hard and fast brand split and a hard brand split, i.e. two separate entities that will never cross over. Maybe WrestleMania. That's it. Two champions, two separate brands, touring separately, separate pay-per-views, akin to 2003 to sort of 2006, 2007 WWE. Ironically, when Triple H was on top. I think that's Triple H's plan. I think that's why he's bringing back all of these people, because let's face it, if he keeps bringing back all of these people, he's going to end up in the same position that Tony Khan's in AEW, in that eventually people will be unhappy because they're not being used. Now, again, WWE has far more television time to fill than AEW, and they have far more eyeballs on the product as well. So that's also part of it as well. But I think Chelsea Green coming back to WWE seems quite certain. Cardona, I don't know. I think he's had tremendous success on the independent scene, and I think he would probably be weighing it up to, would I have that same level of success in WWE? Of course, he'd have more eyeballs on him, but at the same time, I don't see him having the success he has on the independent scene in WWE. I really don't. Matt Cardona, even though they're smaller shows, Cardona has buzz. He had an NWA pay-per-view named after him. Yes, it's the NWA. Yes, it's not the big leagues, but he's kind of already had his fill of WWE, unless he was specifically promised, you are going to be, and again, he's not going to be a main event guy. So unless it was told you are going to be involved in that US Championship picture, that Intercontinental Championship picture, or you've got the opportunity to get over, then maybe that would be the case. But I just don't know if he's going to have that success. And I think that if a return really was going to happen, I don't think he'd tease it as much as he is teasing it on social media. I think Cardona is doing what Matt Cardona does very well, and that's get social media talking about him. He has proven that for, close to a decade at this point, going back to the Z True Long Island Story stuff on YouTube back in the day. Matt Cardona has the ability to manipulate the internet and social media to get people talking about him, and he does that very well, and I think he's doing that right now. I don't think he has really truly any intentions of going back to WWE. I could be wrong, but I just don't see him doing that. I think, as he mentioned, he was listed as 12 in the PWI 500. I don't think that would happen if he was in WWE. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to Cardona. As I mentioned, I don't see him returning. Chelsea Green, though, I do. So Rob Fee, let's talk about Rob Fee and the new director of long-term creative in WWE. There was a rumor going around that he had significant heat backstage, and an update has emerged on WWE hiring Rob Fee following claims about backstage heat. Now, it was recently reported that Fee, who had been a head writer on several Disney shows, he'd also written a ton of Marvel comics. Of course, he's a longtime pro wrestling fan, a WWE fan, has connections to several wrestlers, including the recently returned Bray Wyatt. It was recently reported that Fee, quote, isn't making any friends with his treatment of assistants backstage. However, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful has reported that this isn't the case. Noting that Fee's work has been well received so far, Sapp tweeted, quote, WWE officials across creative and the broader business laughed at reports that Rob Fee is making enemies at the company. His work and treatment of others has been both positively received. Now, Rob Fee himself, who is very active on social media, it must be said, poked fun at the first report, replying to Sapp's post saying, quote, LOL, we all had a good laugh at that this morning whilst I was hitting writers' assistants with chairs. Now, Fee, who of course is close with Bray Wyatt, was involved in the direction and production of the White Rabbit teasers that aired on WWE television ahead of Bray Wyatt's return at Extreme Rules. The WWE executive recently named his favorite non-WWE wrestlers, which can be seen across social media. This is just one of those weird things. This is why I think it's so important. It is really so important where you get your information from and what you choose to believe or not believe. I can't sit here and tell you what to believe, what you shouldn't believe, what you believe is fact or fiction. My role in all of this, what I tried to do anyway, and I hope you guys enjoy it because I really enjoy doing it. My role, I think, is to find news and find news from various websites and sources. You tend to see, I always put the article descriptions, the article links in the video description. I always source my material. In addition to all of that, I always try and give my opinion on things, and I know sometimes people just stay for the news, people don't like opinion, but I try to give a bit of both. But I think it's really important where you get your information from, and sometimes these reports and rumors come out from questionable sources, and for whatever reason, social media picks them up and people believe them to be fact. It wouldn't be the first time, of course, that an outsider has come into the wrestling business and they don't get along, or they're not a good fit, or they're not a cultural fit. However, I would suggest that's probably different for someone like Rob Fee, because he's friends with a lot of pro wrestlers anyway, and he's familiar with the business enough of being a long-term fan that I think he would probably understand the etiquette involved in pro wrestling, of which it is quite a strange etiquette. So when I see someone like Sean Ross Sapp and others come out and just say, well, it's not true, and at the same time, why would you want to put out that kind of rumor if it's not true? Because I'm not saying that Rob Fee's directly responsible for the White Rabbit success and the Bray Wyatt buzz, but if he was involved heavily in that, the QR stuff and the teasers and the cryptic stuff, we've all really enjoyed that. We've all really enjoyed that. It's been some of the most refreshing things we've seen on WWE television in a long time. So I don't understand the need just to make something up and put that out there, unless it's already people, you could argue, and this is where pro wrestling gets so crazy, but you could argue maybe some people within the company already are feeling threatened, like this guy comes in and already sets things on fire, and there's suddenly people are really raving about his work, so they've got to put fake stuff out there. I don't know. I really don't know. You never know where this stuff comes from, but it's been debunked by Sean Ross Sapp and others, so I wouldn't worry too much about that, and I'm really excited to see what he's got planned for the long term when it comes to creative. That is indeed his job. Talk about NXT this week. NXT did big ratings, actually, for the developmental brand on Tuesday. NXT came in with big numbers following all the buzz in the company has after Extreme Rules and a memorable season premiere of Monday Night Raw. Now, WrestleNomics shared the viewership information for the October 11 and Tuesday night's episode was watched by an average of 737,000 viewers overall. Now, in context, that's up 18% from last week and is actually the highest total viewership since the special Halloween Havoc episode nearly 1 year ago on October 26, 2021. The same can also be said for the key demographic, which is something that NXT tends to struggle on. It's an older audience that watches NXT, but NXT this week was watched by an average of 196,000 viewers aged 18 to 49, which totals a 0.15 18 to 49 rating, which is up 17% from last week too. From a ranking perspective, NXT ranked 14th in the 18 to 49 rating among cable originals, and in broadcast primetime it placed 29th. Now, Playoff Baseball actually took the top 2 spots as well, but they'll be happy with that. Now, going back a year, total viewership is up, whilst actually the key demographic remained exactly the same. The October 12, 2021 episode was watched by 632,000, which is 14% less than last night. So, they'll be happy with that, of course, the highest numbers in nearly a year. Why? That is a good question. Why? Maybe it was just, again, the positive buzz that people have with pro wrestling, specifically WWE wrestling at the moment, with obviously Extreme Rules and the season premiere of Raw. Not that was really going to have any influence on NXT on Tuesday night. Maybe it's just, I think like a lot of people actually when it comes to WWE programming, does feel like this. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. So once you're enjoying it, what else is on a Tuesday night to watch when it comes to pro wrestling? Not a lot. AEW Dark on YouTube, but certainly on television. So maybe that reflects it. And maybe it just positively reflects that people are enjoying the changes. And people also are enjoying the main roster crossovers that we're seeing as well. Now, obviously, for the past few months, as I mentioned about these main roster crossovers, both WWE Raw and SmackDown stars have been spotted on the NXT brand. Now, whether it's been a build towards a one-off match to emphasize the importance of each title or simply showcase backstage spots, it's offered fans a bit of variety. Now we know whether or not we can expect this type of thing to continue going forward. Fightful Select is reporting that the crossover between main roster talent and NXT talent is set to continue on Tuesday nights. Recently, audiences have seen the likes of Finn Balor, the Brawling Brutes, Rhea Ripley, Nikki ASH, Doudrop, and of course most recently this week Sonya Deville appear on the show. Fightful sources have indicated that the crossover has been beneficial for NXT in numerous ways, pointing to the consistently improving viewership over the past couple of months. Having these top stars work with those in NXT can also be a good indicator as to whether or not talent on the company's developmental brand are ready for the main roster shows, adding a layer of experience whilst establishing younger, potentially less experienced talent. As of right now, 2 competitors, former friends turned bitter rivals, Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, are slated to take on a SmackDown and Raw star respectively on the October 18 edition of the show. As I mentioned, that's the show that's been going to go up against Tuesday Night Dynamite with that AEW World Championship match between Jon Moxley and Hangman Page taking place from Cincinnati. So if you've enjoyed the crossover, you're going to enjoy it even more because more of it's going to continue to happen in the future. Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns is still on the horizon. It's less than a month away now in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel. Now, of course, the two men took part in a press conference to announce the match and had another confrontation on SmackDown last week where they shared the same ring. And according to PW Insider, it is WWE Hall of Famer Michael P.S. Hayes that is, quote, heading up both the storyline and match for their program. Now, it's unclear, I would say, exactly what that means or whether he's in charge of nearly all of the creative surrounding this rivalry, if he's just going to be agenting the match, minus the input from Reigns himself and Paul Heyman producing the match, or both. Suffice to say, Michael Hayes is heavily involved in what is going down between Paul and the Tribal Chief. Now, this is no surprise because Michael Hayes is the senior agent in WWE. He's the senior producer. He tends to do all of the main events of TVs and especially big matches for pay-per-views, WrestleMania main events, etc. Michael Hayes is involved in that. Michael Hayes has also been heavily involved in the Roman Reigns title reign, really from the inception. He's been sort of Reigns' go-to agent for the majority of his matches, and you saw actually at Clash at the Castle, a really interesting picture was put out there of really who's involved in everything Roman Reigns. Of course, it's Roman Reigns himself and his opponent, but the brain trust behind the scenes tends to be Michael Hayes. Paul Heyman's heavily involved in all of it, and Clash of the Castle was Bret Hart. So basically any legend that's around, any great wrestling mind that's around will also be involved. But the majority of the time, it's Roman Reigns, it's Michael Hayes, it's Paul Heyman, and of course it's either Vince McMahon or Triple H overseeing all of that, which I guess Bruce Pritchard would also be involved there with his creative role too. Finally, WWE's video game update. An update has emerged regarding the future of WWE video games as the company continues to adjust after the departure of former chairman Vince McMahon. WWE has released at least one mainline video game almost every year for more than 2 decades. Now, 2K notably skipped WWE 2K21 to focus on 2K22 following criticism surrounding the final WWE 2K20 game. Speaking on the wrap, WWE Senior Vice President Scott Zelanchali, terrible pronunciation on my part, Zelanghelany, I'm the worst. He spoke about the company's relationship with technology like video games and NFTs. Explaining why the company is interested in establishing itself in these markets, he said, quote, the second we do something that's not authentic, our fans will take note, right? That seems like a cash grab. It's got to be something they want. 75% of our fans self-identify as gamers. I think it's about 60% play 7 hours of video games a week or more. So massive audience that's into video games. As technology advances, what are the offerings we can give them? What can we experiment with there? Knowing where they are, you have to meet them where they are. With our NFTs, for example, digital collectibles, we all see the success of that. It worked out for us in terms of our long-term partnerships, making sure that we're partnering with the best-in-class partners. Gaming is a category that we will be in shortly. Again, I'm going to keep that tight-lipped. So maybe we might be seeing something a little bit different when it comes to gaming. I don't know. I haven't played, it must be said, a WWE game in a really long time. So I can't say I'm an expert in that. The last WWE game I played, goodness, was probably one of the games just after SmackDown vs. Raw ended. Like, that's how old I am when it comes to games. I mean, I grew up playing SmackDown on PS1, SmackDown 2, Know Your Role, Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain, Just Bring It. The early SmackDown vs. Raws, General Manager mode, that's the peak for me. And I don't think they can improve that unless they go back to it, which I know they kind of did this year, but nevertheless, I digress. So there you go, guys. That's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.